Hey everyone, I am the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise.
Fives or a ball for this first game. And there it is. And can he do it again?
I simply never miss.
It's over! The Klaus Trilogy has come to an end. I know I've said this before, but it's borderline insane how Xenoblade Chronicles started as a literal Who franchise that slowly managed to find new footing thanks to the support of dedicated fans, eventually getting its own fighter in Smash Bros, and from there, we got a fantastic sequel, at least for me, an excellent story expansion, another Smash Bros fighter, another great game, and now it has all come to an end thanks to Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed. It took us over 10 years to get here, and it's been a wild ride full of so much emotion, excitement, tears, and even some cringe. But it was all worth it in the end. Xenoblade Chronicles is an incredible franchise that started big and remained big till the very end. So many hours spent exploring its past worlds, so many exciting battles against tons of unique enemies, and so many moments that will remain as some of the best you'll experience in gaming.
And that's what today's topic is all about. I'm going through all the Xenoblade games to reminisce about those incredible moments that stay with us and haven't left ever since. What's the only rule? Only games from the Klaus Trilogy, which means I'm taking into account 1, 2, 3, and their story expansions, which is also a convenient excuse to exclude Xenoblade X. I still don't play Xenoblade X. Also, I know I shouldn't be saying this, but just in case, this video will contain spoilers about the entire Klaus Trilogy, so if you wanna watch this video but still don't want me to ruin your future experiences with the games you have yet to play, there will be spoiler warnings at the bottom of the screen. Are we good? Good! Then let me show you a thing or three. Or 10, since, you know, this is a list video.
This is the only spot on this list that isn't exactly a cutscene per se, but it's one that has stuck with me ever since. Getting to Gaur Plain for the first time in Xenoblade Chronicles. Let me give you some context. I came to know Xenoblade Chronicles through the Operation Rainfall project and the GameStop controversy from the early 2010s. And all I knew is that the game was this obscure, fantastic JRPG everyone should play. My curiosity started to gradually build, but I got super interested in it when people were rumoring Shulk was gonna appear as a fighter in Smash 4. This pushed me to get more familiar with Xenoblade Chronicles, such as watching the first few minutes of a game and some small gameplay. However, when Shulk eventually was confirmed as a playable character in Smash 4, that was the moment where I said, okay, I need to play this game now. I was so invested and so curious about everything from the trailer. Shulk as a character, his ability to see into the future, the powers of the Monado. But I especially remember falling in love with the Gaur Plain stage and the Gaur Plain music that played in the trailer. It was like love at first sight. Not too long after, I managed to get my own copy, and it really hurt my savings. But it was so worth it! Xenoblade Chronicles got my full attention since the very beginning, and it was only getting better and better and better! But once I got to Gaur Plain for the first time and that beautiful track started to play, I couldn't help but feel overjoyed. I was finally in this area I really wanted to explore, and I was blown away by its sheer size. When I look at Gaur Plain in the Smash 4 trailer, I remember thinking, wow, this area looks so cool, but it's probably downsized in the actual game. There's no way the Wii can handle that. And no, it was even bigger than that. And Gaur Plain did not disappoint at all. When I think about exploration in Xenoblade Chronicles, this is the area that always comes to mind because of how iconic it is. By this point I was already completely sold into the game, mostly because of a previous event I'll mention later. But getting to Gaur Plain was so magical, it was that part I really wanted to enjoy. And once I got there, it was everything I expected it to be and more, which is why this moment is so special for me. You know, as I said on my review, I had my number of issues with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I had a hard time to really get invested on it, and pretty much the only things that kept me going at first were the connections to Xenoblade 1 and 2. I especially wanted to desperately know, why are Melee and Nia apparently now antagonists? And yeah, you eventually find out they were robots in reality, and while that plot twist blew me away, it still made me wonder, okay? So where are the real Melee and Nia? They continue to build up on the mystery so well, and once I finally got to the Cloud Keep, and once I heard that remix of Drifting Souls playing, I couldn't help but be overjoyed. And when I saw Nia in person, let's just say I'll never forget my reaction to it. It also helps that I recorded said reaction. However, this is all interrupted by Joran and Dirk shooting Nia in the heart, and you have to fight them, and you learn Dirk's backstory, and Joran sacrifices himself, and... I'm sorry. Can you blame me for not caring for this moment after they interrupted Nia's return? Still, once you deal with Mobius, J, and D, you find out Nia survived the attack and finally get to speak to her. And you know what's my favorite part about this entire sequence? Even though many years have passed, she's still the same old Nia from Xenoblade 2. Her status as a queen means nothing. She's not overly dignified or refined. She tries to put on an act out of obligation, but still fails because her real personality is what shines the whole way through. She's still the same blunt, sarcastic, but well-meaning Nia we came to love. I love this moment so much. It was like seeing an old friend in person after such a long time. It's so simple, yet so effective. And sure, I don't mean to make Melia's interactions any lesser, cause she still has some fantastic moments. But Nia's encounter came first at the right time, and it was perfect in every aspect. Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeem was an expansion that I hope it will give us a full closure to what happened after the events of Xenoblade 3. So, did it do it?
The answer is yes and no.
Okay, so, I was honestly hoping the DLC will follow up and expand on the ending of 3. It kinda did it, but not in the way I was expecting. But fuck me, did I love the entirety of Future Redeemed! Most specifically, the final sequence. Some of you might be expecting me to lose my mind at the radio scene in the final chapter, but no. I honestly didn't get it because I still haven't played Xenosaga nor Xenoblade X, but my friends threatened me at gunpoint if I didn't mention it at the very least. But no. In general, I just want to mention the entire final battle against Alpha, just for one fact, just one simple fact. The music. The fucking music! Take the incredible final boss theme against Sansa and make it even better! I don't know how they did it, but they did! But more than the music being incredible and the final battle epic, it was the context of everything. Knowing I was at the very end of this fantastic trilogy, fighting Alpha was so emotional because it was like battling an old friend, but at the same time, it relieved once again that excitement of fighting Sansa for the first time. Then you have N temporarily joining forces with you, Matthew using Numa's core crystal to transform everyone into Ouroboros, and finally deliver the final blow to Alpha. But most importantly, you have Shulk, Rex and Nate beating farewell. They don't die, but leave the party in order to keep everyone safe, promising to return one day. A promise eventually fulfilled, cause after the credits roll, you see the world of the Bionists and all rest merge once again, undoing all the damage Klaus did to the universe. This ending isn't the deepest or the most hard-hitting in the series, but that sense of closure is what makes it so special. Not just because you saved the world, but saying goodbye to Shulk and Rex hits you on a unique level, especially if you play their games. This ending is so simple, yet it still managed to get me hyped, emotional, and it really nails it into your head that this was the end of this fantastic trilogy. Now all that's left is to figure out, who the hell is this light? People are theorizing it's Cosmos, but I think I finally figured out who this is. This is a moment I've talked about before, but can you blame me for mentioning it once again? Exit Bandam, Enter Mithra is a phenomenal cutscene. It is an event that shows you that Xenoblade 2 still knew how to hit you as hard as its predecessor. Through all of Chapter 3, you get to know this new character named Bandam. In just a few hours, he stands out thanks to his cool personality and how he acts as a mentor figure to Rex. If you go in fully blind, it's very easy to believe he's gonna be a permanent party member. But no. Once you reach the end of Chapter 3, you're forced to fight Jin and Malos, putting the party in a situation that only gets worse and worse the more the battle proceeds. Something that eventually leads to Bandam sacrificing himself to save the party, but also forcing Mithra to awaken. I love this cutscene, not just because of how epic and emotional it is, but because of the heavy implications it carries, how it affects the characters involved, especially Rex. Then you have the voice deliveries, the action, the battles, and that barrage of different feelings that hit you all the time. If you pay attention to it, you can even see some foreshadowing. But the cherry on top is that this is the first cutscene where Drifting Soul ever plays. Fantastic theme that only made the moment even better. I remember how I felt when I first watched this cutscene. During Chapter 1 and 2, I liked my time, but I wasn't completely sold into Xenoblade 2. But after witnessing this masterpiece of storytelling, that's when I made it my goal to see it through the end. Too bad this moment is followed by the abysmal Chapter 4, but hey, at the very least it eventually reaches that peak once again, and it doesn't take away how incredible this moment is. Everything about the Mekonis core in Xenoblade 1 is marvelous! This moment just constantly hits you with emotion after emotion after emotion, constantly making you screaming hype only to shock you a few seconds later. It never stops, but it's so good. What makes this moment so great is the context you already have. Egil had already made an incredible first impression, but he just continues to deliver some excellent dialogue, constantly threatening the party and even unveils his motives and backstory. And while they don't justify his actions, they give him so much depth. You also have the boss battle against Jaldabaoth that constantly has you under stress to defeat it in time to save the Bionis. Then you have Shulk, whose character develops even further, from someone who desires revenge to someone who wants to find the truth and establish peace between races. And once all seems to come to an end, everything that could potentially go wrong happens! Shulk gets shot in the back by Dixon, who is revealed to be a disciple of Sansa. Sansa comes back to life and reveals that Shulk has been dead since his childhood, as well as telling everyone his plans of destroying the world to create a new one. Sansa, Egil and Mainnet engage in battle, but both Mainnet and Egil sacrifice themselves in the struggle so that the party could escape. This leads to the Mekonis being completely obliterated and Sansa getting yet another Monado. And if that wasn't enough, Sansa and Lorithia unleash either shockwaves that transform most Haentia into Telethia, stripping them of their sanity. It's just... I said it before, and I'll say it again. This moment is just a punch after a punch after a punch. It never stops, but it's so well done. You get fantastic battles, insane plot twists, events that are simultaneously epic, shocking, and tragic. It's one of those moments where you know there's no turning back, but it motivates you to keep pushing till the very end. Looking back on my entire experience with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it's pretty crazy how at the beginning you believe this game will have no connection to its predecessor. Like, sure, there's familiar enemies and the no-pawns, but rarely do you ever think this is the same universe as the world of the Bionis. However, once the final chapter begins, it just blows all Xenoblade 1 fans out of the water. It all starts with Klaus in the space station starting a new world, and it only gets better when you find out the architect, the guy you've been trying to reach for many hours, is Klaus himself. But unlike his alter ego Sansa, this Klaus is very remorseful for his actions, and explains the players how their world came to be, while also tying Xenoblade 2 to the first game in a way that makes so much sense. And that link is what got me so excited. You also have this fantastic quote from Rex.
Thank you for giving us all life.
And if that wasn't enough, they outright made me scream with this!
Today, we use our power to fell a god, and then seize our destiny!
This cutscene is big fiction, I don't care! You know, This moment alone was already fantastic on its own, but now that the trilogy is finally complete, it's insane when you think about the implications this cutscene will have in future games. That just goes to show the incredible writing of Xenoblade Chronicles. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Chapter 5. Think about it. What would you do if you knew the exact time you have left to live? What if you spent that remaining time being emotionally tortured? That's what this scene is all about. By this point, we all know Mio only has 1 month left to live. All the party gets captured and thrown into a prison, and they are told Mio will have her homecoming in a month, and everyone will see her die. And from there, nothing. Absolutely nothing happens, and that's what makes this scene so effective. The characters react realistically to their situation. Noah desperately tries to break out, almost destroying his own hands. The party tries to find alternatives to escape, others try to comfort one another, and eventually they lose all hope to escape. The small dialogue you get here is simply so heartbreaking to watch. But I think what makes this scene so painful is how long and drawn out it is. The longer it goes, the more you try to analyze the alternatives. You think they will find an escape route, or maybe that the city people will come to save you. But no! Time passes, but nothing succeeds. This scene only lasts like 30 minutes, but it feels eternal. You're suffering alongside the characters, and eventually you start to lose confidence and hope the same way as them. Even when you're taken to Mio's homecoming, you scream, you beg a miracle is gonna happen, and then nothing happens. Mio dies, you see her disappear right in front of your eyes. There was nothing you could do, and while you're still shocked by what just happened, Aang swings his sword on you, and the chapter just ends. I don't think there are words that can do justice to this scene. It is one of the most painful I've seen in a game, yet the way the characters involved react to it is so real, so humane. The body language of everyone in the scene, Noah's facial expressions, Union Lance tries so hard to keep it together, Taion starts to lose his cool, Senna has a complete breakdown, even Manana tries to do something to cheer up everyone, even though she knows it's impossible. And of course, you have Mio accepting her fate. You know, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a game I had my issues with, but Chapter 5 in general just made it all finally click for me. But the prison scene specifically was the moment where I said, this is a masterpiece of a game. Little did I know I will get more hurt later, but I'll get to that eventually. This is another moment I've talked about before, but it still fucking hurts! The entire end sequence of Torna the Golden Country remains to this day one of the most painful moments I've experienced in any video game, right up there with Mother 3. That's how you know this doesn't fuck around. I really wanted to add this sequence. Everything from the beginning of the final battle against Malos to the very end is a train of hype, adrenaline, and excitement. And then it jumps into pain, agony, and eternal damnation. Let's give some order to this. The final battle against Malos in Torna is incredible from a gameplay standpoint. You have all the qualities that make the Malos battles so tough, but now you have the Sirens become a battle mechanic. You have to compete against Malos on who can dish out the most damage to emerge victorious. And once you reach a certain point, you can just finish him off with a massive chain attack. It's brilliant! But then, all that excitement turns into a never-ending barrage of tragedies. Malos uses his siren to destroy Auresco, and you get to see people dying in front of your eyes. This forces Mithra to unleash a part of Numa's power. She uses it to defeat Malos with a devastating attack. But said attack was so powerful, it ends up destroying the Torna Titan's core, killing it in the process, and causing an explosion that forces Hugo to sacrifice his life to protect Adam. And if the death of a party member wasn't tragic enough, you still come to terms with the fact that Milton died during the destruction of Auresco, something that completely destroys Mithra emotionally. And once the credits roll, there's no sense of achievement. It's not even a bittersweet feeling. It's just so heartbreaking. Like, yeah, you have the moment where Laura avenges her mother, and that is a small relief. But that's all it is. It's just a moment. You still have Adam parting ways with the main party, only to never be seen again. You're shown the villains succeeding in their plans, a whole army heading towards Laura, Jean, and Hayes. And finally, you get Jim burning down the photos of his previous drivers and friends. this is one of the most tragic endings I've seen in gaming. But more than it being so heartbreaking, it also makes many moments from the main story have much more impact. Jin was already a great character, but Torna gives even more depth and significance to his flashbacks with Laura. It makes his murder of Fan Lanorn make a lot more sense, or how it explains why Mithra is the way she is and why she felt the need to create Pyra. Torna, the Golden Country, is a masterpiece of a DLC. This is an incredible game that delivers a fantastic story where you already know what's gonna happen, but even if you're aware of what awaits these characters, you still grow attached to them, you care for them. It makes you wish you were in some sort of alternate reality where they will succeed in the end. But no, everything goes exactly as you were told it will happen, and they don't pull any punches with that. Yet, it's still one of the greatest and most memorable moments in the entire Xenoblade series. Also, can I mention how much I love the Torna credits theme? A Moment of Eternity is a song that deserves much more attention. It's pretty underrated if you ask me. It doesn't just enhance the atmosphere of the ending, it hits on a different level when you understand the significance behind the lyrics. This one goes right up there with Drifting Soul and Where We Belong, songs that can make you cry just by listening to them. Playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1 for the first time is an experience I'll never forget. Right off the bat, this game set itself apart from other JRPGs. The gameplay, the narrative, the setup, it was all quickly sucking me in. But there is a moment that completely sold me on the game. One sequence that hit me on an emotional level I didn't think possible, and it all happens in the first few hours of the game. The Mechon attack on Colony 9. This moment is a masterpiece. There are no flaws in its execution. It gives you all the information you need to fully understand the weight of what is going on. In the first few hours of the game, you're already let known of how big of a threat the Mechon are to the Bionis, and this is reflected through gameplay in how you can barely do any damage to them, unless you topple them. When things seem lost, that's when Dumbman appears with the Monado, and up to that point you're already aware that A. The Monado is this all-powerful weapon that can easily destroy Mechon, and B. Dumbman has titanium balls. When Shulk eventually gets his hands on the Monado, he isn't just able to wield this sword with ease, he also gains the ability to see into the future. It's this way that the game manages to make you feel invincible, that nothing can stand in your way, and if something is about to go wrong, your visions will help you avoid that. But then, everything changes. That's when Metalface shows up for the first time, and to the surprise of everybody, the Monado cannot do any damage to him. And when all hope seems lost, Fiora shows up trying to save you. You get one more vision of her demise, which makes you believe something is gonna happen that will save her. But no. She still dies at the hands of Metalface. There was nothing you could do to save her. This cutscene is brilliant in how it perfectly encapsulates that feeling of hopelessness and despair. How it makes you feel invincible at first, but quickly makes you feel powerless. How you can feel the despair from the characters being unable to do anything. That imposing and terrifying presence of Metalface. Or how you still get that small glimmer of hope, only for all of that to vanish in front of your eyes. And this is all done even better thanks to the music. Engage the Enemy is a phenomenal song that every time I think of it, I always visualize the first Metalface encounter. And need I say more about the fantastic voice performance?
I'll kill you!
There is nothing in this cutscene that is lacking. The tension, the action, the emotion, and the impact it leaves, it's just peak. This is a moment that completely made me fall in love with the game, and it only happens in the first few hours of the game. I want to ask you, when you have cried with a game, what's the longest you've been affected by it? For example, when I beat Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, I was so emotionally unstable for 2 weeks. When I beat Mother 3, I was incredibly sensitive for a whole month. Well, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 completely stomped on these records. 6 months. 6 whole months did this game hurt like hell, and I mean, can you blame me? The ending of Xenoblade 3 hits like a goddamn train. Through the game, you see how the main characters learn to trust one another and how they grow together despite their hardships and their nations being in constant war. In their journey, you bond with multiple people from said nations, and through side quests, you make them set apart their differences and work together. I've always loved Xenoblade Chronicles for that sense of connection you build with the worlds you explore. But what happens when you're stripped of that connection? The ending of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is so simple in its execution, yet it's the most broken I felt playing a game. The world of Bionis and all rest must separate once again. The characters give their farewells and all put up a strong face. But once the worlds start to separate, you can't help but feel destroyed. Seeing their desperate expressions of not wanting to leave their friends, how they try to reach for each other but only continue to drift further and further away. They try to soften the blow by assuring the player the worlds will meet once again. But that parting, that farewell is the most heartbreaking thing to watch. There is so much care put into this scene, with Noah and Mio having their first and last kiss, Tyon and Juni bantering with each other, or Lance and Senna talking about not being able to train together anymore. There's a ton of detail in the dialogue, the character expressions and their movements, how you can briefly see Senna break into tears, or how Tyon drops to his knees after they are separated. It is one of the most touching scenes I've seen in a video game, and it hurts. It hurts like fucking hell. And it's incredible because, for a moment, you wish things could stay the way they are, but then you realize that goes against the main message of the game. So even though this entire sequence is incredibly painful, it's still loyal to what it tries to achieve. I also want to highlight the music that plays here. Where We Belong is a song that I fell in love with the first time I heard it. It's so beautiful, so emotional, and so fitting. It does its job so well. Extremely well, I wanna say. When I say this moment had me in emotional pain for 6 months, this song played a huge role in that. I will perfectly visualize the ending once again and tear up without fail every time I will listen to it. Hell, even having to rewatch the ending just to make this video will still hit me hard. That just goes to show how powerful this scene is, and why I consider it one of the greatest moments in all Xenoblade Chronicles.
There is simply no other game franchise like Xenoblade Chronicles. 1, 2, 3, and their expansions, while they all have their own shortcomings, in the end they'll always make up for them and do more in the process. These are games that any JRPG fan should experience at some point. And I really hope that in the future, Monolith Soft will continue to deliver more fantastic memories like the ones I just spoke about. So, is there a moment you think I missed, or one you would love to add to the list? Then please, let me know in the comments, and as usual, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to support the channel, you know, by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, or Patreon, then you'll be helping me stay alive. But no, really. Have a wonderful day, and take care. I'll see you next time.